Hello. Right, I've got lifted off that Financial Times article 12 comments, I think, to be discussed if the mood comes across me, stroke us. But I picked this one off just out of the Guardian this morning because I think it's a better opening comment for us, coming from my previous video of the day on politics. It's a very short comment, but I think I can develop it, open it up a bit. It starts, "This is globalization, full stop." Good start. "The rich get to join a global super rich, full stop. And the poor merge with the global super poor, competing for work with people in Cambodia and Bangladesh. It's why we need stronger national governments, not weaker ones." Right. I haven't practiced out loud, but I practice in my head the intonation for this, as in the saying of what I'm going to say is. Forgotten even what it was, so it can't have been much practice. "This is globalization. The rich get to join the global super rich and the poor merge with the global super poor, competing for work with people in Cambodia and Bangladesh." What did we expect it would be? That's what I was practicing. Oh, I've forgotten again. How could it be any different? That's the one. How could it be any different? How could it be any different? Globalization. This is globalization. How could it be any different? Question mark. How could it possibly be any different? That is what globalization would lead to, as in 2 + 2 = 4. All right, it might be 2 + 3 - 4 = 1, but it's not complicated. It had to happen. But who or how could globalization possibly be stopped? Well, nobody could possibly have stopped it. And if we say, well, it should never have been started, hopefully we can see that that is pretty foolish as well. What year are we going to say that globalization started? And then we can go back and say, well, here they should have done this to have stopped it, to stop globalization. This is a bracket that I didn't want to bring in, which incidentally has brought out, it's plural, so it literally billions of people out of absolute poverty. So who was ever going to stop this? Nobody probably knew it was going to bring billions out of global poverty. And I don't think anybody advocated it at any time for it to happen. We need globalization to bring people out of absolute poverty. The people that would have said that were much more likely to say no to globalization. But that doesn't matter. The question is, how could it be any different? Well, I just had a thought, because my mind was going through history of years. When could we say it started? Let's say Nixon going to China, for instance, because this throws up a question for us. Could Nixon have possibly thought what he was doing when he went to China and kind of opened the lid on China and let China out of the box? Gave China the first rung to start on there, whatever expression that we want to use, when Nixon went to China and started the opening up of China. Even if it wasn't Nixon, which of Nixon's political advisors on China would have predicted where China would be today? Who of them would have got anywhere near it? None of them. most of them probably would have predicted, yeah, they're clever little buggers. They'll probably not go down Russia's route and really fuck it up. But, you know, they're not going to be any sort of a threat for a couple of 100 years because they didn't have any money. America always knew that they'd be able to lend them money and reel them in, lend them money and reel them in and control them. They didn't know that China had worked out what money was. There's a bit of a backstory on that. I might tell you one day. But there you go, for the people that are still a bit funny on my banking and central banking and money videos. Where do you think China's got all this money from to go from working in paddy fields, one generation, to having mega cities with super skyscrapers the next generation? Where did all the money come from? Let's leave that. This is globalization. The rich get to join the global super rich. Of course they do. If you're getting globalization, you're not just selling to your small area or small country. You get to sell to the world. So if you hit it big and get to sell to the world, you become a superstar. And because your company is then known around the world, people will want to invest in your company and buy parts of you. They will bid up you, and you will become globally super rich naturally. It wasn't long ago. Well, now, how much do you think the American stock market is as a percentage of the entire stock market? Because of this, because the government soon realized what globalization was. They thought China was just going to be opened up to sell to. But they had a plan, and they used probably FBI, CIA and all. If you're American, I've given up on your stupid gits. But you know all the little the special agencies that helped America basically take over the world. It's it's just over half the entire stock market value of world stocks are American, because they played the game to win, and they played it hard. And the poor merged with the global super poor. How could it be any possibly different? Let's say some Scandinavian countries, which were already vying for each other, playing a game called "We are the nicest people in the world," and they just happened to be playing the game when this started, and were a bit of a barrier, bulwark, or push away from globalization, the worst aspects of globalization in the beginning. But of course now they're being overwhelmed by it. And how could small countries not be overwhelmed by something like globalization? The whole thing is, how could this be any different? It's a question to you. I'm not saying just nihilistically, deterministically, how could it be any different? How could it be any different? It's a question. How could globalization work out anything any different than exactly what we see? The bosses are globally super bosses, and inevitably, even if you weren't the owner, you're going to get remunerated hugely. And the workers do get to compete with the people of Cambodia and Bangladesh. How could it possibly not? The only way it can possibly not is the bottom line in this, is why we need a stronger national governments, not weaker ones. And there we have it. And this is why I've done the video after this morning's politics video. Do we want stronger governments? Question mark. Now, I'm leaving it to you to understand what a stronger national government is. And I'll go along with this question. do we want stronger national governments? Because I think this chappie is quite right. If we don't have strong national governments, globalization will have most of the population competing with the people of Cambodia and Bangladesh, and the rich of the country being members of the global super rich. Right? Or do you have another plan? Now, I've done the video this way to hopefully express the enormity of globalization, like a whopping great tide coming in, and the inevitability of it continuing to come in. Have you got it? Do we want stronger governments to put little or big walls on the sand to stop the tide coming in? Or is there a better plan somewhere along the line? If so, what is it? Just vague ideas. It doesn't have to be absolutely nailed down exactly what it is. And I'll see you in comments to see what you think. This is globalization.